Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
Many of the biggest companies have reached nearly $50 million in their marketing budgets. That's a lot of money to put out there to enhance their brand image and tell people that their golf clubs will do this or that. Yeah, the R&D is significant out there, but to be quite honest with you, I sometimes wonder where a lot of the R&D money gets spent, because as a veteran scientist of golf club design, all the new technology that could instantaneously hit the ball better overnight from the design standpoint has been used up, or it's been limited by changes in the USGA rules.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to Golf Smarter, Tom. It's great to have you back.
Fred, thanks very much. I really appreciate the chance to talk about golf clubs, because I think you know that's something that I've always been interested in a little bit.
Well, that's why we're interested in talking to you about it, because you, unlike other people that I've talked to, and I've talked to some individual club makers, but you speak for the industry of club making, custom club making.
Yeah, I've been in just about every aspect of the golf industry. I started out my life as a PGA club pro, teaching professional. I got into club making and then eventually club design basically because I needed the income as a PGA pro. I didn't make enough in the old days, with this, so I taught myself the skills of club making and club repair, and that just triggered this explosion of interest, to where I left that PGA side and then decided to go into the golf equipment industry. Went back through my scientific and engineering training, and in 1986 became a club designer, and all along doing research to find out why some golf clubs work for some golfers and don't for others. And we'll lump that under the title club fitting research. So, yeah, and I've always written a lot and published a lot, and that came about mostly because way back when I didn't know anything, in the 70s, and I would call up the various golf industry people in the equipment industry and ask them technical questions. I either got no answer or I got, a lousy answer, and rarely, got factual, truthful information. So I kind of got frustrated with that, and I said, look, if I got to do all this research and figure this out on my own, I'm going to do it. But I want to learn exactly how golf clubs are supposed to work and do work and don't work for golfers, for this. So my whole life and career has been an ongoing quest for more and more technical information about how golf clubs work and don't work for golfers with that. So at this point now I'm 60 years old. Have been able to write a number of books and tons of magazine articles and try to get the word out to people about what are the facts of life about how golf clubs are supposed to perform for you, because unfortunately there's a lot of bad information out there, and there are an awful lot of golfers who have been misinformed and spent money for golf clubs that could have been spent a lot better, to get them what they want, in terms of clubs that will help them play to the best of their ability.
Well, when you say there's a lot of bad information out there, don't we call that advertising?
Well, you can. I like to think that there are some people, who advertise the market with really good, truthful, factual information, out there. But it's hard for people who themselves are not technically trained to know the difference in golf clubs. It's hard for them to distinguish what's factual and what's not. So what you're left with is, if I heard it from the biggest company, it must be true, because they wouldn't be a big giant company if they didn't, do things right.
Well, and look who's playing with the club.
Yeah, with that. So, basically, what we've lived with here is, and this is, I'm a great fan of the history of the game going all the way back, the early days. And, as golf became more of a mainstream sport in around 1845 with the invention of what we call the gutta-percha golf ball, all of a sudden a golf ball became very affordable, and the average working man now could buy, golf balls to go play the game. Okay, so as the game grew in the late 1800s, where did you go to get golf clubs? Okay, you went to a custom club maker. Okay, you walked in a custom club maker shop, He sized you up one way or another, and then he built your clubs one at a time. And those were your golf clubs. Then all of a sudden, as the game continued to grow and we went into the early 1900s, you now had more and more golf courses. The golf courses hired golf pros, for teaching golfers there, and the golf pros had little shops. So the golf pros went to the custom club makers and they said, hey, I can sell some clubs for you. Can you make up a bunch of sets of golf clubs that you can send to me, and I'll put them in my pro shop and I'll start selling them for you? With that. And club makers said, yeah, more business. Okay, so what did they have to do? They had to think up a series of average standard specifications for the golf clubs. What lengths, what lofts, what face angles, what weights, all those things. And so they picked these average standard specifications, built the sets, sold them, to the pros, who then sold them to the golfers. And that began the business model that the golf equipment industry still follows today, where each one of these big golf club companies, they pick a series of standard specifications. They build the golf clubs to those series of standard specifications. They send them to all the pro shops and all the big golf retail stores. They go on the rack, and you walk in and buy one. Okay? It's similar, in a sense, to if you walk into a shoe store that has all the different colors and sizes has all the different colors and styles of the shoes, but the men's shoes are all only in a size 10 and the women's are in a size 7. Just make it work.
Okay? Right. So let's talk about the average golfer and custom club fitting. Obviously a lot of golfers just don't know that custom club fitting's available to them. And what is it that they are missing, that they should know on why custom club fitting is so much better for them? I mean, shoe size is one thing, but how it's going to improve or affect their game?
Several things. First thing is the vast majority of golfers don't think that they're good enough to benefit from custom fitting.
Absolutely. Okay? Oh, wow. Nailed it right there.
They're very aware of the fact that the pros get custom fit, but the association that goes into their head from that is, pro needs to be custom fit because he's a really, really, really good golfer. He can tell the difference. It really is the opposite. All of us golfers make swing mistakes. Okay, some worse than others with that. We try maybe to take lessons, but that's where the athletic ability gets involved. Many of us just don't have the athletic ability to swing the club perfectly. So we swing with mistakes. Outside in, early wristcock release, you name it. There's a whole myriad of them. Really good custom club fitting can make the golf club specifications so that they can reduce the per-shot effects of certain bad swing mistakes. Sometimes even erase it with this. So if you slice about 35 yards, we probably can get that down to 15. I probably can't turn it into a draw, but wouldn't you rather play with a 15-yard fade rather than a 35-yard slice? Custom fitting can do that. And there are many other examples of it. So truthfully, the golfers who think they're not good enough to be custom fit are really the ones who are going to benefit the most from being custom fit.
Wow. So I understand the idea that there's going to be a difference for custom club making. The people first will think, I'm not good enough to have custom clubs made. Once I get my game in order, then I'll go out and research that. But what about the other thing that I think could be a major factor in their decision? And that would be, I really can't afford to have custom clubs made because they're probably so much more expensive than the stuff that's fairly good that I can buy at the local retail store.
Yeah, it's the association when people say, if I go to a custom tailor to get a suit, I'm going to pay a fortune, so I'll just go to the department store.
Right.
Okay, well, custom tailors have been around for 300 years. They've developed the awareness among consumers that they're the best. So they got to a point where they charged more for it, okay? It's not that way with custom club fitting because there's been so little marketing to tell golfers what a real good custom club fitter can do for them. The other side of the coin you have in there is the fact that for the custom club fitter to be able to build those golf clubs one at a time so every one of the 13 key fitting specifications is matched to that golfer's swing, he can't do that with club heads that have the major brand names on them. He has to be able to do that from specialty companies who design a whole series of different driver heads and fairway wood heads, iron heads, and all that have the ability to be adjusted and built to all this wide array of custom fitting specs. So the golfer looks at the custom fit golf club, and he might not recognize the name on the bottom of the sole, and because of the power of marketing, he thinks, oh, how do I know the titanium in that is as good as the titanium in this one I've heard of, for that. So, but the bottom line is, because there's less awareness of real custom club fitting, the club fitters can't charge a ton. And so even when you go to some of the best of the custom club fitters, very experienced, you're probably going to pay the same for that custom club that you will for any premium brand name club that you buy standard off the rack.
Amazing. Now, Tom, I also want to address the other books that you have. I'm not exactly sure which order they came in, but there's the Search for the Perfect Golf Club, the Search for the Perfect Driver, and the Right Sticks.
Yeah, I've done a lot of books, and most of my writing in the beginning was done to train the club makers, to teach them to learn more about golf clubs and learn club fitting so they could do a better job of, fitting and building golf clubs. Okay, but then I had this chance in 2005 or 6 to be able to write a book that was aimed at golfers, and that was the first one, The Search for the Perfect Golf Club. The publisher had no marketing behind it. He did have the clout to get it into every major bookstore all around the world, or all around the country. And the thing, became, under golf books, became a bestseller. Also, it was chosen as the golf book of the year by the International Network of Golf, which is the largest organization of professional golf media people in the golf industry. So the Search for the Perfect Golf Club was the first one that came out. That was followed, we did a shorter one because the driver is so important to so many golfers. We did a book called The Search for the Perfect Driver, in which we really outlined, in really a dialogue format with how I wrote it, how two different golfers, one who was really good and one who was average, went in and visited a club maker and how they got fit for the right club driver for each one of their needs with that. And so that's one that's been out there. I've also been able to expand the 12 myths, going beyond 12 myths, into a book that we called The Right Sticks. And that had 36 different misinformation points about golf clubs that we set the record straight on with that. So most of those are not, as it is right now, 12 myths that could wreck your golf game is, available, in an audio form. So yes, you've been kind enough to point people towards that, through your access there. The other books are in print form right now, but hopefully we'll, be able to convert over to audio. If anybody's really interested in the print form, they can come to my company's website, wishongolf.com, and at the golfer store there, we make our books and information available to anyone who's interested.
Well, I'm not going to, this is not paid. I went to Amazon.com, which actually owns Audible, and just typed in, under the book section, I typed in golf clubs, and Search for the Perfect Golf Club. Actually, it's called The New Search for the Perfect Golf Club, comes up number 1.
Oh, that's right. I did do a rewrite on that just recently because, interesting, the Search for the Perfect Golf Club was discovered by a whole bunch of professional golfers associations in Europe. And so the search book is required reading for membership training for the PGA of Great Britain, Sweden, Holland, and Belgium.
Wow.
Right now. And so for this year's training for the British PGA, they wanted an update version. And so, real quickly, I put together made things up to date because some things in the industry have changed since 2006. And so my editor handled all that for me, and he had the access with Amazon. And so the new search, is probably up there on Amazon.com, and that brings things up to date as of 2011. Yeah,
well, it comes up number 1, and also there is a Kindle edition as well, which is anybody who's got an iPad or a Kindle or the Amazon Kindle app on their phone. You can just read it right from there, and you don't pay as much. But congratulations on getting it up there. That's really fabulous that you can do that. And
well, that's great.
I was going to say that go ahead.
It's really all about trying to get the right information into golfers' minds about this.
Yeah, I've been told by a friend who wrote a book, said, if you can at all possible turn your book into something that is sold on universities, or, make it an educational book or a textbook, then that's how you keep a book alive more than anything else. Make it a textbook. All right, I want to get back to custom club fitting because I think it's such a fascinating topic. Because I had another question about it, and that is today in retailers, not the big box retailers, but a lot of golf-specific stores, they have a net set up, or they have a big screen set up that you can hit a ball into, and it all of a sudden looks like your ball flight's going on, and then they can tell you what clubs to buy, and they'll turn you on to this set of Ping or Callaway or Cleveland or Tight Lies, Adams, whatever it is, but they call that custom club fitting. Is that?
Yeah, they do.
Is that what that is?
No. I'll just start out with a brief answer on that one.
Club fitting and club making. Club fitting and club making. Where is there a fine line there?
Well, let me put it this way. In club fitting, to get the best, performance for your size, your strength, your athletic ability, and your swing characteristics, there are 13 separate specifications that each need to be custom fit to you and built into that golf club. Okay? What you get when you supposedly go into the big golf retail store is 2 of the 13, and only within a very narrow range of options, of those 2 fitting specifications. And what's more, it's only in the driver. 13 other clubs in the bag, they can't help you with, from a pure full specifications, custom fit to you, standpoint right there. So it's what we call either convenience fitting, so it falls within the business model of the golf club business, to still be able to have that club on a rack so it can be pulled off and get sold to you. So if you do have the launch monitor analysis, then what they're going to do is they're going to grab, something that they have on the rack there, and maybe they can adjust the face angle with one of these adjustable hosel pieces that are in some of the drivers now, and the lie angle, which really isn't critical of importance, and that's about it. Okay. Yes, you can choose between different shaft flexes in one style of shaft, but a big problem that exists in the industry is there are no standards for flex in the industry, so the R flex from one company has the same stiffness as the S or the A flex from some other companies right there. And that's too bad, so we really can't even consider that much of a fitting specification when the companies don't know whether Callaway's R is as stiff as TaylorMade's R or Adams's R, because they are different, out there. So bottom line, it falls back to the concept of the custom tailor for the suit. You want the best suit, you walk into a tailor shop where he's going to take all the measurements and he's going to construct that from scratch to fit you for every specification of your body. You want the best driver or woods or irons or hybrids, wedges or putter for your game, go see a really trained, well-experienced, independent custom club fitter who's going to do the same thing for your golf clubs that the tailor would do for a suit.
Are the big name brands, we just mentioned them, that are out there on the racks in these big retail stores, are those bad clubs?
No. Let me put it this way, and this sometimes, I'm glad you let me do this, because so many times in my passion of trying to get people to go get custom fit instead of buy off the rack, it makes it sound like I'm really hammering on the big golf club companies. I'm only hammering on their business model. That's all.
Okay.
I'm a veteran club designer. 25 years I've been designing golf clubs, and I've designed over 300 different, separate original families of club head models in my career. Okay? I've worked as consultants for club head production foundries. I know what constitutes a good design, and I will be the first one to tell you that the engineering behind the big companies' club head models is superb. They're very well engineered, and it's a very good product. The problem is when you take all that good work in the engineering of the club head, and now you build it to golf clubs which are same length, same loft, same face angle, same shaft weight, same total weight, same everything, standard off the rack, it ruins a lot of the performance potential in the engineering of the club head. Right there. So then maybe the next question is, the golfer says, well, can't I just take that TaylorMade or Callaway or Adams club and have it retrofit or refit completely for me? No, not totally, because that head that Adams or any of those people did a superb engineering job on was designed for that one standard length with that one shaft weight with, that one swing weight that they wanted to achieve in their standard specs. If you need a different length, different weighting, you can't do it, with an existing club. You can't change the loft angle on an existing club because they're metal. Back in the old days when I first got into this, when all the woods were made from trees, yeah, you could. You could take a file to the face and change the loft. Can't do that anymore with this. So seriously, if the golfers really want to see what custom fitting is all about, go find a really good custom club fitter and work with them on a one-on-one basis to be fit for every one of the key fitting specifications to match you.
Yeah, and you could find a lot of that out at wishongolf.com, right?
Yeah, we have a link up there for Find a Club Fitter, and these are club makers that I have either personally trained or I've known for many years in the industry, or we've screened them, so that we know that they're going to do a competent job of being able to custom fit and custom build golf clubs for golfers that are going to perform, better than standard made off the rack clubs.
Quick question. It doesn't require a long answer. I'm just kind of curious because you said you've had so much experience in so many aspects of the industry. These days, and you may not be able to answer for that, but these days, do those major manufacturers have larger budgets in R&D or advertising?
Oh, much larger in advertising. Marketing. I mean, it's many of the biggest companies have reached nearly $50 million in their marketing budgets. That's a lot of money to put out there to enhance their brand image and tell people that their golf clubs will do this or that, for it. So, the R&D is significant out there, but, to be quite honest with you, I sometimes wonder where a lot of the R&D money gets spent, because as a veteran scientist of golf club design, all the new technology that could instantaneously hit the ball better overnight from the design standpoint has been used up, or it's been limited by changes in the USGA rules, for this. So there are no new metals out there that are going to hit it farther. You will not find drivers that will hit it farther just from the design of the club, because the USGA has a limit on that. So at that point, what we're left with here, and this is the technology I work in, the one new technology, I say new technology, probably 98% of all golfers have never experienced it, but it can immediately overnight, show an improvement in your ball striking, is what we're talking about, custom club fitting. Done to, with all the different specifications individually fit and built to match you and your swing. With that. The big companies can't do it. They can't build, the $800 million worth of golf clubs they need to sell every year, one at a time, for one golfer at a time. To do those kinds of revenue numbers, they have to pursue the business model of pre-building these golf clubs to standard specifications so they can be shipped to the 14,000 retailers they have to be sold off the rack to you when you walk in the door. It's the only way that these companies can do the business they need to do to sustain their stock prices. Whereas golf clubs need to be built one at a time, for one golfer at a time, with each of the 13 specs matched to your size, strength, athletic ability, and your swing characteristics. Do that, and you will play to the best of the ability you have as a golfer.
If I took
off the rack and you don't know.
Yeah, well, if I took my Mizuno clubs, which were actually, after I got custom club fit, my club fitter said, you know what, the Mizuno clubs that you used to have before they were stolen, they were actually good clubs for you. But if I were to invest in new shafts, would that make much of a difference? And do I need to spend a lot of money on shafts?
Well, there's a whole nother topic, right there.
I know.
I'll make a quick answer. Quite honestly, there's no golf shaft in the world that's worth $300 or $400.
Flat. Yeah, that's just blanket statement. Done. Nothing.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, the 5 performance elements of a shaft: the flex, the bend profile, the weight, the balance point, and the torque. Those things can be duplicated in a $40 shaft for what you've seen in a $300 shaft. You know, with this, that's kind of too bad. You know, because unfortunately, marketing experts definitely know that if we charge a ton for it, people are going to think it's better.
Absolutely.
You know, and a shaft is all about being fit to your club head speed, and then your swing elements of how aggressive is your downswing, how forcefully or smoothly do you start the downswing, how late do you hold the wrist cock angle or early before you unhinge it, you know, with that. And so these are the elements, you know, a good trained custom club fitter measures club head speed, then observes your swing for the transition, your tempo, your release, and how you use your strength in the swinging of the golf club. Then they pick the shaft for you, you know, from that. So in an iron shaft, if you don't have a late release, if you don't have an aggressive downswing, then the only thing that you're really going to notice any real performance difference from in a new shaft will be, what does it weigh? You know, do we need to get you into a lighter shaft to match your tempo, or do we need to get you into a heavier shaft so the golf clubs will weigh a little bit more because you have a super fast tempo and we need to kind of slow you down a little bit? So shaft weight is really critical in shaft fitting for all golfers. Shaft flex and shaft bend profile become more important the later the release on the downswing is for the golfer. You know, with that. And in irons, iron shafts are always much stiffer than wood shafts, okay, because they're shorter and they're bigger in diameter. And so iron shafts bend less in a quality iron shot than a wood shaft will bend in a shot hit with a wood. And therefore, iron shafts, from a flex standpoint, don't quite contribute as much to the true performance of the shot as a shaft in a wood can. But to a really good golfer with a late release and the more aggressive the downswing, the flex is really important.
Well, you know, I spend so much time talking to instructors and mental coaches and stuff, but I really apologize to you and to all the custom club makers that I don't spend more time on this topic, because I think it seems to be so influential for everybody's game that we just don't get it.
Well, it's so little known. I mean, I mentioned to you on your other, you know, podcast, you know, and this is one to average golfers. Maybe this drives the point home better. You know, and that's the story I told you about baseball bats, softball bats. You know, any of you guys who played baseball or softball, when you went in and chose your bat, you went in there and you picked that bat that had the right length, the right weight, and the right handle diameter, because you knew you couldn't just grab any old bat and go out there and hit the ball as well. Okay? It's no different in golf clubs. The difference is, in the bat business, all the retail stores, sporting goods stores, have sold bats in different lengths and weights and handle diameters for years, because they only have to stock one bat per golfer, or per ball player. Golf clubs are didn't done that way because we have 13 key fitting specifications over 14 different golf clubs, and the companies and the retailers just will never make those options or stock them because it would create such an inventory nightmare that they couldn't stay in business. So golf clubs remain buy it standard off the rack and hope it works for you, whereas baseball bats and softball bats, you buy commonly, always, the custom fitting specifications that allow you to hit the ball the best to your ability.
Okay, so full disclosure here. Generally at this point I would say, so Tom, I would love for you to come back again so we can do more of this. Could you please come back next week? And you go, sure, Fred, I would love to. And then we would sit down and we record another conversation right after, you know, this, and we'd have 2 full weeks of content with you. But in full disclosure, we've already recorded that, and it went so well and so long that I said, Tom, we've got to do another episode, but I want it to come first. So we've already, so when I mentioned to you before, you'll actually get to hear that next week if you're paying attention. So, Tom, you're part of my celebration of reaching 300 episodes of Golf Smarter, and I asked you to come on because you've been on numerous times in Golf Smarter, and you've been so gracious in giving me your time and educating me as well as the listener. I really appreciate your time and your education, and thank you again for helping us.
It's my pleasure, and congratulations on reaching that big number out there. You've had as many podcasts as I've designed different models of golf clubs.
There you go. But I still,
right there.
But it still doesn't. I've done. Let's just say, there's guys who want to, shoot their age as they get older.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at the point now where I have more episodes than I'll ever reach with my driver.
Well, not if you came up to Durango, Colorado in our 6,500-foot elevation. You'd have a chance to knock it out there over 300.
Well, after I get custom fit and have you make me a club.
Yep.
Okay. Tom, thanks so much. Tom Wishon, check out his books and also go to his website, wishongolf.com, and come back next week on a members-only episode, and we're going to get another 45 minutes of Tom. Thank you, Tom.
Fred, my pleasure, and best wishes to everybody in this great game.